Hi folks, Seth Leapson here. Thanks for watching my monologue. In these uncertain times, you may be thinking about personal protection. If you are, I urge you to visit my friends at Guns Etc. They'll help you find the perfect protection for yourself and your family, and they can even teach you how to use it. They've been protecting Arizonans for over 33 years, and they stand for the great principles this country was founded upon. Or you can just click on gunsetcetera.com. And if you like my monologues, please subscribe to 960 The Patriots YouTube channel. Welcome back, and happy December 30th, 2020. History, George Will once wrote, is like the lantern on a train's caboose, illuminating where we are not going. Looking back, in other words, gives us little to look forward to. It ignores what's in front of us. On the other hand, we've been taught again and again that if we do not study history, we are condemned to repeat it, as the famous Harvard philosopher George Santayana once wrote. Somewhere in between, we know that we must embrace the coming month, January, named after the Roman mythological god Janus, who looked both forward and backward. And January is upon us, just about a week, less than a few days away. It's a time of New Year resolutions and looking back over the past year, both at once, simultaneously. We think about what we did this past year and what we can do better next year. We think about where we've been and where we are going, which gets us to resolutions, New Year's resolutions. Since about 1988, I've disliked that word resolution for a reason you may think odd. It's the title of the final two episodes of the television show Magnum PI. The second to the last episode was Resolutions 1, and the last ultimate episode was Resolutions 2. And I always felt a connection to that show, as around the same time the song by Paul Simon, You Can Call Me Al, was popular, with the lyric, "Who will be my role model now that my role model is gone?" And there were a lot of things from that show that were exemplified that could be a lot worse in today's fare. Principles, martial virtues, anti-communism, honor, loyalty, and deep, meaningful friendship, which to me is what I took from that show going forward, a deep commitment to the idea of friendship. You see, I think the Beatles got it wrong. We don't, at least I don't, get by from a little help from my friends. I get by with a lot of help from my friends. Aristotle put it this way in Book 8 of the Nicomachean Ethics: when men are friends, they have no need of justice. While when they are just, they need friendship as well, and the truest form of justice is thought to be a friendly quality. As one scholar explains the point, a complete life could not have been lived in solitude, so justice and friendliness between fellow citizens was essential. Let's keep that in mind. Friendliness between fellow citizens is essential, and that life cannot be lived in solitude. So I try to pay tribute to friends around New Year's. To me, they are the most essential part of my life. And I hope yours too, though I can appreciate if you may rank a few other things perhaps higher. Family, God, country. Those are different kinds of institutions, of course. Not voluntary for one, not at their inception anyway. And they each do require a form of justice too, which I think interesting. But back to friends. My resolution each year is to pay tribute to them and to try to be a better friend myself. It's not the kind of resolution that, say, with dieting or something else, is self-serving exactly, because I'm trying to be a better friend to others. So this year, I want to shout out to a special friend or group of friends who took a chance on me here, first in giving me this radio show. Over some time, his family, as other families have as well, adopted me, not only bringing me into their fold at their home, but also inviting me into their lives and the lives of their children. One cannot overstate the trust one must have in someone to bring them into the lives of their children. And as I write this, or say it now, it dawns on me I'm now speaking actually of two families. Interestingly enough, the first one I mentioned introduced me to the second, which also brought me in, adopted me, invited me into the life of their very special child, too. To trust someone from outside their family with their children must be the highest form of trust there is, which is what makes a bond of friendship with such families all the more special, and an honor to be part of, which seems to me as good a place as any to speak about a societal resolution I would love us all to undertake for the new year. A serious redressing of the moral and educational void in our culture as it pertains to the bringing up of children. Teddy Roosevelt said that to educate a man in the mind and not the morals is to educate a menace to society. Why cannot each and every one of us make a simple commitment to our young adults, each one reaching one? Maybe something as simple as giving them a good book. And if that opportunity is not available, perhaps writing something too, or about what is being done in a society that too easily corrupts too many of our children. I spoke last week about what children get from Teen Vogue and the Cartoon Network. The importance of those things, rotten, should not be dismissed. Neil Postman, in his book The Disappearance of Childhood, writes the following. To have to stand and wait as the charm, malleability, innocence, and curiosity of children are degraded and then transmogrified into the lesser features of future adulthood is painful, embarrassing, and above all else sad. But I have consoled myself with this thought. If one cannot say anything about how we may prevent a social disaster, perhaps one may also serve by trying to understand why it is occurring. Children are a force preserving childhood. Not a political force, certainly, but a kind of moral force. Children, it would seem, not only know there is value in being different from adults, but care that a distinction do be made. They know perhaps better than adults that something terribly important is lost if that distinction is blurred. American culture is hostile to the idea of childhood, but it is a comforting, even exhilarating thought to know children are not. All of which I think is true biconditionally and logically if and only if adults stop using children as a political force and cease the propagandizing of them for their own political wishes and mischief. Aristotle had a good read on it, and modern psychology and other contemporary studies back him up. We teach by habit, we teach by precept, and we teach by example. Aristotle says that habituation at an early age makes more than a little difference. It can make almost all the difference. So there it seems to me is a good charge to adults for resolutions that aid and assist the moral raising of our children, our country's children. Present yourself, adults, in the world in such a way as to exhibit goodness, decency, and moral health to children who are watching you. And they are always watching you. Which is why I never loved the expression that character is who you are when nobody is watching. As a matter of self-discipline, that charge is important. As a matter of teaching by habit, precept, and example, character matters just as much when people are watching, especially young people. And as I say, they are always watching. Back, if I may, to resolutions in the new year. Our politics cannot be exempt. We cannot live in stasis, and we should never settle. This country has been known as the Innovation Nation. It was created with a motto of Novus Order Seclorum, a new order of the ages. We were once the can-do country, where people ran to and for a better life, and more liberty, and more safety, and the rule of law, and the opportunity to make something of themselves and their progeny. They did not run here, and we were not founded as a place of liberty to go backward. And yet we seem to be in a political place of paralysis just now. Every few months we have a budget debate, as we are concluding one this week. Every few weeks a hot spot in the world becomes exceedingly hot again, and we debate sanctions and military actions and negotiations. And it's always, by the way, the same 3 or 4 hot spots with little recognition that the wheel is the problem rather than the spokes. The Lord is the problem, not the rings. And we have a problem even understanding what constitutes a free and fair election. And we reach for things that make us feel better temporarily rather than do the things that actually work, sometimes requiring hard effort to get them to work. But until we truly embrace the meaning of this holiday season, charity, goodwill, the importance of every child as if he or she were our own, we will be spinning our wheels, the same wheels, over and over again. That's not resolution any more than it's a successful revolution. This takes a new kind of maturity in our political and cultural debates, a maturity that, yes, does look both forward and back. So let us look back to an anniversary we missed last week, dating back 221 years, the death of our most important founder, General George Washington. When he died, Thomas Jefferson said this of him, quote, "Perhaps the strongest feature in his character was prudence, never acting until every circumstance, every consideration was maturely weighed, refraining if he saw a doubt, but when once decided, going through with his purpose, whatever obstacles opposed. His integrity was most pure, his justice the most inflexible I have ever known, no motives of interest or consanguinity, of friendship or hatred being able to bias his decisions. He was indeed, in every sense of the words, a wise, a good, and great man." Close quote. Let us strive to emulate those old virtues, as we move forward to cure ourselves of our current vices. The beginning of our political and cultural repair, I believe, we should all think of as our New Year resolution. And more gratitude all the way around goes a long way, too. So with that, let me give one big thank you to all of you, and especially the Ryans and the Blacks, whom I was speaking of above. I'm Seth Leibson. We'll be right back.